Teaching log 16. Today I'm going to start going over performance art, so spoken word in particular, in order to show my students what is needed for a narrative. Performance art is a really great way to tell a story. There's certain types of repetition that are necessary to prove a point to a specific element. One of the performers that I'm going to be showing in my class is Sarah Kay, which I will link below. But her art is beautiful and she provides an emphasis, and it's still a story. Even though it seems like it's getting off topic, it's still a point. Everything is still focused. And that's something that I want to show my students. There are two other videos that I do want to show my students today. One is going to be a video on descriptive language, a TED Talk, and it explains like certain things that you should avoid. And then the second one is what makes a hero, and it kind of goes through like the cycle of a hero's journey, which is going to be really interesting for my students to observe and kind of apply that into their writing. After that, I do want to break my students up into their own little groups where they can outline their narrative, and I want them to come to me and show me their outline, and I can ask them questions of what kind of things I'm expecting with this kind of story, and have them begin working on that in class. On Tuesday, we'll continue that, so that way they have a little bit more work, and then Thursday is when they turn in their first draft for peer review. So I'm really interested to see how this class goes. And I'm excited for this because performance art is supposed to hit you in the feels. Like, you're supposed to feel something. Either you're supposed to feel some kind of passion, or you're supposed to feel like an emotion or empathize with the person speaking. And the thing with performance art is that you provide certain emphasis on it, but if you were to just listen to it, you would still take a lot out of it. So I'm excited to see how my students react to this. But I'm off to class. I do have a worksheet for them to kind of fill out after the performance art thing video, so they can reflect on that and use those elements into their essay. And I do want them to take notes. Wishing me luck for today's class, and I'll be back afterwards. And I'm back. Class went surprisingly well. I opened up the class by asking my students what performing arts is, and one of the students is like, well, isn't that like band and dance and things like that? I'm like, yeah, in one way it is. And then I tailored it a little bit more to like, what is spoken word? And they blank faces, of course. And I'm like, well, spoken word is a way of telling a story in the form of poetry. And I'm going to be showing you one. But I want you to take notes, because the way she tells the story is what you need to learn for your next essay. Showed them the video, had notes. I handed out a worksheet that asked a couple of questions, such as like, what story is she trying to tell? What is her obsession with stories? What kind of details does she provide? How does she describe people? And after that video, I had them come in as a class, answer those questions, and they were more quiet about that. So I tailored it a little bit more, where they answered questions that I asked, so such as, what events is she talking about? Like, what stories does she talk about? And then from there, I drew the plot diagram for them to start identifying the beginning, the middle, and the end of that story. And then they're like, it clicked for them, which is really great. After that, I asked them, like, what do we need in the story as far as like detail and like a kind of template that's going to happen. So I then showed them a video on what makes a hero, and a video on how to write descriptive language, or how to use descriptive writing or something like that. They're all from TED Talks. I will link those in the description below. But these videos were really great because it gave them an idea of their narrative, and after discussing each one of these things, my students were able to start thinking about their next essay and think about an event that changed them and start outlining it. And then since there was about 15 or so minutes left in class, I went around. I didn't get to everybody, but I did go around to ask everybody that I could what event they were going to write on. And most of them were like the first day of high school, the first day of college, a dance performance. Like, these are really great ideas. And one person's like, I don't know what I'm going to write about. I'm like, all right, well, you can come talk to me in office hour and we can work it out. And at the end of the class, after I talked to him and I kept going, he came up to me. He's like, and he told me, I'm going to write about my scholarship interview. I'm like, that's great. That's interesting. Like, work with that. And he's like, okay. And then I made an announcement, things like that, about extra credit opportunities and revising their essays. But right now I'm focusing on narrative and narrative heavy stuff. And I'm really, 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 really hoping that my students are learning from everything that I'm teaching them, because I feel like I listened to all of my other peers talk about their class and had, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this. And I was like, why didn't I do that? I compare myself to everybody else, which is not great, of course. I get that. But at the same time, I'm like, I like where I'm going. But if I can do it differently, I would. So right now, I'm planning on what I'm going to do differently for my next class, for my next assignment. And for my next assignment, I want my students to analyze films instead of fairy tales, because it's easy to access a movie. Disney has a bunch of those on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu. They air it on ABC, on Freeform and ABC, like all these other channels. They probably even have one of those at home. And I want them to analyze certain things, pick a topic that's problematic, and then do research on that. And I think that would work. And there's a lot of content on YouTube, like video essays or theories about analysis on a certain theme in a book, in a film. One that I used was WALL-E a couple weeks ago, and it was great. And I wish that I knew that ahead of time, but now I know what I'm going to do for my next class. It's a learning experience. Obviously, my students don't know that I'm learning at the same time, but what am I going to do? I'm off to grade a bunch of work to hopefully give back my students their work on Tuesday. And I did make an announcement that they have an extra credit opportunity tomorrow at school. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, this is the end of my teacher log. Until next time.